Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
So today is February 28th, last day in February, I believe. We'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 7, February 28th. Narayana Namaskratya Naram Chaiva Narottanam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Janam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. We will do the word for word Sanskrit. Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 7. Nishamya
Nishamya
Tad Bhaktir
Bhakti
Didrikshaya
Didrikshaya
Isho
Isha
Vilokya
Vilokya
Tatranyad
Tatratanyad
Apashyamana
Pashyama
Svadishnyam
Padishnyam
Astaya
Astaya
Vimrishya
Imrisha
Tad
Tad
Ditam
Itam
Tapasi
Tapasi
Upadishta
Upadishta
Ivadadhe
Ivadade
Mana
Mana
Nishamya Tadvaktir Didrikshaya Disho
Nishamya Tad Bhakti Didrikshaya Disho
Vilokya Tatranya Rupashya Manaha
Vilokya Tatranyada Pashyamana
Svadishnyam Astaya Vimrishya Taditam
Padishnyamasthaya Vimrishyata Ditam
Tapasi Upadishta Ivadadhe Mana
Tapasyupadishta Ivadade Mana
Nishamya Tadvaktir Didrikshaya Disho
Shamyatad Bhakti Didrikshaya Vidisho
Vilokya Tatranya Pasya Manaha
Vilokya Tatranyada Pashyamana
Svadishnyam Ashtaya Vimrishya Taditam
Padishnyamasthaya Vimrishyata Ditam
Tapasi Upadishta Ivadadhe Mana
Tapasyupadishta Ivadade Mana
Nishamya Tadvaktir Didrikshaya Disho
Nishamyatad Bhakti Didrikshaya Disho
Vilokya Tatranya Pasya Manaha
Vilokya Tatranyada Pashyamana
Svadishnyam Ashtaya Vimrishya Taditam
Padishnyamasthaya Vimrishyata Ditam
Tapasi Upadishta Ivadadhe Mana
Tapasyupadishta Ivadade Mana Nishamyatad Bhakti Didrikshaya Disho
Shama
Vilokya tatra nyara pashyamana. Swadishnamastaya vimrishyataditam. Tapasyupadishta ibadade mana.
Anyone else?
Nishamya tadvati didikshaya disho.
Nishamya tadvakri didrikshaya disho.
Lokya tatranya dupashamanam.
Vilokya tatranyada pashamanaha.
Isyamastaya vishvichastaditam.
Swadhishnamastaya vimrishyataditam.
Tapasyupadista ivadade manam.
Tapasya upadishya ivadade manaha. Nishamya tadvaktri didrikshaya disho.
Ishamya tadvati dikshaya disho.
Vilokya tatranyada pashamanaha.
Vilokya shamana.
Swadhishnamastaya vimrishyataditam.
Swadishtamastaya vishvishastaditam.
Tapasyupadishta ivadade mana.
Tapasyupadista ivadate manam.
Nishamya tadvaktir dirikshaya disho.
Nishamya
Bhaktir didrikshaya disho.
Vilokya tatal yadapashyamanaha.
Vilokya tatra nyara pashyamanaha.
Sadishyamastaya taditam.
Swadhishnamastaya vimrishyataditam.
Tapasya upadista ivadade manaha.
Tapasyupadishta ivadadhe mana.
Okay, translation. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker. We're talking about Brahma here. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides, but when he was unable to find anyone besides himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. To achieve success in life, one should follow the example of Lord Brahma, the first living creature in the beginning of creation. After being initiated by the Supreme Lord to execute Tapasya, he was fixed in his determination to do it. And although he could not find anyone besides himself, he could rightly understand that the sound was transmitted by the Lord himself. Brahma was the only living being at that time because there was no other creation, and none could be found there except himself. The beginning of in the first chapter, first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it has already been mentioned that Brahma was initiated by the Lord from within. The Lord is within every living entity as the super soul, and he initiated Brahma because Brahma was willing to receive the initiation. The Lord can similarly initiate everyone who is inclined to have it. As already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe, and since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down by disciplic succession. And in order to receive the real message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should approach the current link, or spiritual master, in a chain of disciplic succession. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in that chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of Tapasya in the execution of devotional service. One should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted as pure as Brahma. The post of Brahma to officiate in the creation of the universe is offered to the most pure living being, and unless one is so qualified, one cannot expect to be treated like Brahmaji directly. But one can have the same facility through unalloyed devotees of the Lord, through scriptural instructions, as revealed in the Bhagavad-Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam especially, and also through the bona fide spiritual master available to the sincere soul. The Lord himself appears as a spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart about serving the Lord. Therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the most confidential and excuse me, as the most confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. If a person is posted under the guidance of such a bona fide spiritual master, it may be accepted without any doubt that the desiring person has achieved the grace of the Lord. Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Vena Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadama Mayam Darati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gobesha Gobika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamani Hari Praye Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namam Vishnupada Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale. Throwing a blanker. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Miti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratrise Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Gaur Brahmani Tata Jagatitaya Krishna Govindana Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna. Nishamyatad vaktir didrikshayasti sho vilokya tatranya rapashyanmana svadishnyam ashtaya vimrishyataditam tapasi upadishta ivadadhe mana. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. But when he was unable to find anyone beside himself, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. So we are talking here about Brahma, the first material being, sprouting out of the lotus flower of Vishnu, coming out of his navel, and there's Brahma sitting on the lotus pad. And so Brahma he hears two syllables. He hears these syllables tapa, and he didn't see anybody, but he had been initiated from within by Vishnu. So he figured, well, there's nobody else around here. Who could that be? It must be, must be God, and I ought to pay attention to what I'm hearing here. So I'm hearing tapa. What is tapa? Ta, it's the 16th letter of the Sanskrit alphabet. I'm not an expert on Sanskrit at all. Pa is the 21st letter. And according to Srila Prabhupada, pa, I can't speak too much about ta, but pa stands for parishrama. Parishrama means hard labor. Hard labor. And pa, pha, which is pronounced pretty similar, paha, I guess, also comes into play here. And paha, pha, means foam. So like when you're like working so hard, you're foaming at the mouth. It literally, foam. So, so Brahma is hearing this sound vibration, ta-pa, and it means tapasya, tapasya, and tapasya is hard labor. You're laboring so hard to get out of the material condition that you're literally foaming at the mouth. You're working so hard. Wow, that's crazy. So Brahma is sitting there and meditating on the lotus, and he's just meditating on these two syllables, tapa, and he's doing it for a very long time. I want to talk a little bit about time, because time is all relative, and so for Brahma, he meditated on the phrase tapa for 1,000 celestial years. Actually, this comes in a little bit more in the next text, 8, but I'm giving you a little preview of it because it's pretty far out. So he's meditating on tapa for 1,000 celestial years, or 1,000 of his years, Brahma years. And one of Brahma's years is 2,160,000 of ours. Okay, I hope I'm not screwing up my math here, but okay. So he's meditating on tapa for 1,000 of these years. That comes to 2 billion. Let's just call it 2 billion years. Okay, round it off. It's 2,021,600,000 years. In our time. And in his time, if one of his days, I don't even want to calculate what that is, but basically, one of his days is like I have written down here 8,640,000,000 years. I'm not sure if that's right, but 6 hours of his day would be the amount of time he's meditating on tapa. Okay, even though it's 2 billion of our years, it's only 1/4 of his day. So really, it's not like he's like meditating on this his whole lifespan. It's just for 6 hours in his day. So just to put that in perspective, that even though to us it sounds like, oh my God, he's meditating for 2 billion years on this. Come on, how's that possible? But for him, as time is passing in his life, it's only 6 hours. And meanwhile, we don't exist anymore. We've passed away billions of years ago. So anyway, a little bit about time there. It's all relative. You know, like to an ant living on the ground, that maybe lives about a week. Yeah, each minute could be compressed and be like, seem like a decade to us, you know. So it's all kind of relative. So, so Brahma's Tapasya, getting back to that, he's just sitting there on the lotus flower, and I'm going to speak about 3 modes of Tapasya. I mean, three kinds of Tapasya in the modes of the material nature. So you can have Tapasya in the mode of ignorance. You can have Tapasya in the mode of passion, and you can have Tapasya in the mode of goodness, which is what Brahma's is, in the mode of goodness. And I'll be talking about the other 2 afterwards, giving some examples using Hiranyakashipu and a third personality who will be a surprise. So getting back to Brahma, he is meditating in the mode of goodness. I mean, he's Brahma. So what is that? What is penance in the mode of goodness? So it's penance just only for the sake of the Supreme. It's not for any kind of sense gratification. It's not to get something to please a demigod or to get some boon from a demigod. It's just to please the Supreme, for the sake of the Supreme. It's his penance is in full faith and sincerity. So there are 3 verses in the Bhagavad-Gita that I'm going to be referring to today that talk about these 3 modes of penance. So the first one is Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 17, text 17. Shradaya paraya taptam tapasta trividam narai apala kank shibir yuktai satvikam parichakshate. This threefold austerity, performed with transcendental faith by men not expecting material benefits, but engaged only for the sake of the Supreme, is called austerity in goodness. So there is our sattvic mode of austerity, of tapasya. Tapasya in the mode of goodness. And I really can't say too much more about this Tapasya of Brahma, except that we all know after he concluded it, he created all of the entire material universes. Why? Krishna wanted him to do it. Krishna gave him the power, the Shakti, to do it. So he was just doing what God wanted him to do. He had no personal gain out of creating these material universes. He didn't do it for sense gratification. He just did it because he was meditating on God in his heart. And I guess, you know, he got that message. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I don't know too much more about that, but let's move on to the second kind of tapasya, which is tapasya in a mode of ignorance. And for this, we're going to turn to everybody's favorite demon, Hiranyakashipu, which, if I recall, his name, just the name himself, is pretty interesting. Hiranya, I believe, means gold, and Kashipu is like a soft pillow, you know. So here's somebody just interested in sense gratification, right? He just wants to lay there with all of his money, his gold coins falling down all over his head on his soft mattress there. Hiranyakashipu. Anyway, he's the son of Diti. He's the father of Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu. So we learn about Prahlad Maharaj all in Canto 7 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Basically, he's the king of the demons, the Daityas, king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu. And his Tapasya, how long did that last? Okay, first of all, let me describe his Tapasya because it's pretty far out. So Hiranyakashipu goes to this place in the Mandara Valley. I don't know where that is. And he stands on his tippy toes with his arms upraised, looking skyward. And he does that for not 1,000 heavenly years like Brahma, but for 100 heavenly years. Okay, so 1/10 of the tapasya that Brahma did. That works out to only a mere 200 million of our years. 200 million, 160,000 to be exact. 1/10 of Brahma's length. Okay. So he's standing there like that for 200 million years, and he's obviously doing that so long, so that some ants decide to, you know, he's on their land, I guess. So the ants build up an anthill around him because he's in their way. He's on their in their neighborhood there, and the ants build this anthill. I guess he's completely covered with this anthill at this time, and time is passing. 200 million years. So the ants end up eating his skin, flesh, and blood. Wow. And he's left there just with his bones, but he's still alive. He's able to continue his material existence there. He's breathing somehow through the use of his bones. Okay. So Hiranyakashipu, this demon, is still alive, and he's generating a lot of powerful energies from this austerity. He's generating a lot of heat, and this heat is just coming out of his head, right? And the heat is going into all of the material universes. And all the demigods that live on all the material planets are getting very disturbed by this. They talk about global warming. This is universal warming. All the universes are warming up from Hiranyakashipu's generating this tremendous heat. And the demigods are suffering. And the demigods go to Vishnu. They say, hey, we're really suffering here with this universal warming. Can you please do something about it? Help us out here. And they go to Brahma. What did I say? I said Vishnu. No, they go to Brahma. They go to Brahma for help. And Brahma goes to Hiranyakashipu. And interestingly, Hiranyakashipu, even though he's a demon, and he's quite inimical to Vishnu. And I'll get into that a little bit later. He's very inimical to Vishnu and the demigods and the brahmanas. He hates all that mode of goodness stuff. But for some reason, he respects Brahma. He reveres Brahma. So Brahma, he has a relationship with Brahma for some reason. So Hiranyakashipu, so Brahma goes over there to Hiranyakashipu, and he ends up giving him this boon, which relates to how Hiranyakashipu is going to die. Actually, Hiranyakashipu, he wants he wants to live forever. He wants to be immortal. And Brahma says, well, you can't do that. I can't even do that for myself. What can I do instead? And so, he does put these conditions on ways he will not be killed. And I'm not going to really go into it because it's really the story of Prahlad Maharaj in Canto 7. But point is that Brahma pacifies this demon Hiranyakashipu with giving him some boons, and he turns off the heat, turns down the oven, stops the universal warming, and the demigods can return to their life. Okay. Oh yeah, he sprinkled. Brahma sprinkled some spiritual water from his water pot, his kamandalu, sprinkled some water on Brahma's head, and I guess that put out the fire. Disturbance in the universe ended. And after the water hits Hiranyakashipu, he becomes completely revitalized. After he gets hit with the spiritualized water, he becomes completely revitalized, and he's a young, powerful young man, I guess, with flesh and on his bones, and he's returned to his youth, I assume. So so I went into the story of what I described his tapasya and the length of it, but what was the purpose of it? And I kind of alluded to it. He wanted to kill Vishnu, and he wanted to kill the demigods, and he wanted to destroy all the Vaikuntha planets, and Hiranyakashipu wanted to become Brahma. He wanted to have his post. He wanted to be the next Brahma. So this is Tapasya in the mode of darkness. And here we'll go again to Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 17, verse 19. So yeah, there are three. These Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 17, verse 18, 19, and I think it's 17. Yeah, 17, 18, 19. Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 17, 17, 18, 19. That explains the three different forms of tapasya in the mode of goodness, ignorance, and passion. So in 19, tapasya in the mode of ignorance, we read Mudha grahanatmano yat pidaya kriyate tapaha parasi otsadanartam va tattamasam udaritam. So tamasam, or this is foolish tamasam, foolish penance performed with bodily self-torture. Pedaya is bodily self-torture to destroy or injure others. This is tapasya in the mode of darkness, in the most extreme mode of darkness. Yes, Hiranyakashipu, certainly you agree, was torturing his body, devoured by ants, and he was very inimical. He wanted to destroy all the goodness in the universe, in the universes. So, not a good reason to do tapasya. No. And I was curious as to why he was so inimical to Vishnu. What did Vishnu do to him to make him, give him such anger toward Vishnu? And I had to do a little research, a little backstory on this. I'm going to go into it a little bit. It's kind of interesting. It's written about extensively in Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 3. No, not Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad-Gita Wait, maybe it is Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now. Yeah, it must be Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 3, chapters 18 and 19. 18 is the battle between the Lord Boar and the demon Hironyaksha. So Hironyaksha was Hiranyakashipu's brother. So Hironyaksha, so this is written about in the chapter called the Lord Boar and in the demon Hironyaksha, and then in 3:19, the killing of demon Hironyaksha. And this is all why Hiranyakashipu had his whole panties in a twist about Vishnu. So pardon the reference there. So anyway, so you have this is way the Varaha Avatar when Vishnu appeared as a boar happened way long time ago. Don't even ask me when. It's during the Shveta Varaha millennium. Okay, really long time ago. And yeah, so the earth had become inundated. How and why, I don't know. But for some reason, the earth had become inundated, flooded, and the entire planet was like at the bottom of all this water. I believe at the bottom of the, let me get the Garbhodaka Ocean. I think that's right. I don't think that's the ocean of milk, but maybe somebody can enlighten me about that. But anyway, it fills half the universe, this ocean, so it was quite a large ocean. Anyway, the whole planet was submerged, and let's see. Yeah, so Varaha, the boar incarnation of Vishnu, descends, comes down, Avatar, and with okay, this is interesting. The boar Avatar comes out of, check this out. Yes, he starts out very small, this boar Avatar, and he comes out of Brahma's nostril. Okay. This little tiny boar avatar of Vishnu comes out of Brahma's nostril. He's the size of a third of your thumb, not even as big as your thumb, just like the first joint in your thumb is the boar. He comes out of Brahma's nostril, and then through his mystical powers, of course, he gets pretty big, huge, big enough where he can lift the earth out of the waters with his tusks. So Varaha is doing this and saving Mother Bhumi, right, from this inundation, from drowning, well, anyway, from the water. And along comes Hiranyaksha. He sees this boar. Incarnation. And what does he do? He says, yeah, he calls the Varaha, quote, a beast. You're a beast. You're not God. You're just some wild pig. You're a beast. And this started the whole brouhaha. He called him a name. He called him a boar, a beast. And then and there's a description even of Hiranyaksha. Look, he has golden hair and fearful tusks. Oh, I'm sorry.
Are you trying to share something?
No, I pushed the wrong button. I'm trying to get back on.
You're
Give me
on.
a second here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I mean, we're hearing you fine.
Okay, I lost my video. I'll keep going then. So yeah, Hironyaksha is described as a demon with golden hair and fearful tusks. So apparently, I don't know if he's a boar himself or he's an elephant, but he's got tusks. Hironyaksha also has tusks. So you've got these two people with tusks dueling with each other. And yeah, let me see if I can give me a second here to get my video back.
I am seeing.
Yeah, so they start dueling.
He doesn't realize we can see him. We can see
Yeah,
him.
we're seeing you. We're seeing you and we're hearing you.
Okay, okay,
I'll mention.
okay. So
I'll mention the last. I'll
the
mention the
demon.
day was the appearance day of Varahadev, and I saw on Facebook that Parampara Prabhu gave some sort of spontaneous class. Just wanted to mention that since you're mentioning Hare Krishna.
Yes, it was his appearance day recently. Yeah. So so Hiranyaksha calls Varaha, "You beast," and then he says to Varaha, "You have killed some demons by remaining invisible rather. So today I shall kill you." So apparently Varaha had killed some of Hiranyaksha's friends. I don't know about that, but anyway. So today I shall kill you. So then Hiranyaksha tries to hit Varaha with a mace. Okay, and he kind of misses. He misses with the mace, and then they're swinging at each other with the maces, and they're going back and forth. And some blows are being dealt, some damage is being done, and then Varaha thinks, well, I've had about enough of this. This has to end. So Varaha conjures up the Sudarshan chakra. Okay. And of course, once he has the Sudarshan chakra, it's going to be all over for Hiranyaksha. And so, oh yeah, this is also interesting. Yeah, Hiranyaksha is making the sky rain pus and hair and blood and stool and urine and all the bones, all that good stuff, He's creating quite a mess. Oh, and then these naked demonesses appear, his friends, the naked demonesses appear with their tridents to help him out and try and defeat Varaha. But, Varaha, he's got the Sudarshan chakra, and all he has to do is he slaps him on his ear with the Sudarshan chakra, and Hiranyaksha falls dead. So anyway, that's the backstory for why Hiranyakashipu is so annoyed with Vishnu. And of course, it doesn't work out nicely for Hiranyakashipu in the end, but his Tapasya was in the mode of ignorance, and the deepest, darkest ignorance. He wanted to just kill Vishnu and the demigods and the Brahmas, because he wanted to be the king. He wanted to be Brahma. And, he, then we go into the story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad, which he was inimical to his own son, even tried to kill his own son. So this is doing Tapasya for the worst reasons in the world, the worst possible reasons in the world, and not anything I would recommend you doing. Okay, so Let's look at the third kind now, Tapasya in the mode of passion. And for this, since as Dear Govinda knows so well, I always like to talk way too much about myself. So of course I have to throw myself into this stew. And not that I'm comparing myself, I'm not as good as Brahma, certainly. I'm not as evil as Hiranyakashipu, but I underwent my own tapasya in the mode of passion a while back, and I'm going to talk about that and what my motivations were, et cetera, et cetera. So the tapasya of Leonard Cohen, one of the most minor of all these three personalities, very minor personality. But in the year 2000 or so, when I was, just turning 50, I guess, maybe this was my midlife crisis, I decided to go on what was called a vision quest. A vision quest, it's an ancient tradition. It's been around for thousands of years, really, where especially prevalent in indigenous cultures, Native Americans. So you go to the mountain, you climb the mountain, you fast for several days, you get a message from the Supreme or from God or from, you find out who you really are, you find out what you're supposed to do in this lifetime, and you come back from the mountain and you know what your gift is that you give to your tribe, and you come back to your community, and then you can serve your community based on this revelation you have up on the mountain without any psychotropic drugs, just you fasting and praying for a vision of what you're supposed to do with your life, right? So here I am, I'm 50. I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm going out there. Okay, help me out here, right? So this is my tapasya. I did a vision quest. So it involves fasting for 4 days, and then before the fast, you undergo a purification ritual called a sweat lodge ceremony. I'm sure most of you have heard of sweat lodge ceremony. So I went up, flew out to Telluride, Colorado to do this, and the sweat lodge ceremony is the night before we hiked up the mountain to do our vision quest. And the sweat lodge ceremony was something I'd never done before. And I really didn't think it would be such a big deal. You know, it's like a sauna, right? But what I didn't know is that it's like a sauna from hell. Okay, so it starts out, they build a teepee out of aspen tree limbs, and they heat up some rocks outside the teepee in a fire. They're heating up these rocks, and then they tell us to take all of our clothes off and go in the teepee and make sure you're not wearing anything metal. Don't be wearing anything metal because it's going to be so hot in there that if you're wearing like glasses, the rims will, on your temples, they will burn your scalp. So remove all your metal jewelry when you go in there. So now I'm getting a little trepidatious, Wow, really? It's going to be that hot in there? I disrobe. There's about 12 of us. We disrobe. We go into the teepee. And of course, I had to leave my glasses on my pile of clothes because I didn't want to burn my face from the metal. So wouldn't you know it, my luck, I'm in a teepee, sitting haunch to haunch, hip to hip, with a bunch of naked people, including some naked women, but I can't see them because my glasses are on the pile of clothes outside the teepee. I'm blind as a bat. I'm very nearsighted, so I don't get to see these naked women, even though I'm there with them. Okay, so that, I guess, was my first tapasya. No, you're not going to see any naked women. Forget it. Okay, so we're in the sweat lodge, and our leader, his name was Cocoon Weaver. Cocoon Weaver okay? But really, he was a Jewish psychologist from New Jersey. His name was Bill Greenberg. But for purposes of the sweat lodge, he was cocoon weaver, and he was standing guard at the entrance, bringing in the hot rocks. And the hot rocks are coming in, and then they throw some water on the hot rocks inside the teepee. So of course, these voluminous clouds of steam start rising up into the teepee, and we're all sitting there. Yeah, we're we're sitting there cheek to cheek, literally cheek to cheek, and I don't mean facial cheek, cheek to cheek. And it starts to heat up in there, and the air is getting hotter and hotter. And I literally thought my lungs were, I mean, I felt like I was breathing in fire. It got so hot in there. I thought my lungs were going to ignite, literally. And apparently my fellow vision questers weren't suffering like I was, because they kept yelling, more hot rocks, more hot rocks. And I was saying, no, that's enough. I'm burning up in here. I can't even breathe. I'm on fire. So anyway, as I said, this is a sauna from hell, and it went on for, believe it or not, 2.5 hours of this, breathing in fire. And I I really betrayed myself, because I really wanted to leave, but I didn't want to leave because I thought I would look bad. I would be the only one leaving. I said, what a wuss, you know, look, here's the guy, he's leaving. I wasn't going to be the first one to leave, so I stuck it out like everybody else because I wanted to look good. So there's a little clue as to what my motivations were for my Tapasya. And finally, 2.5 hours later, we're able to leave the sauna from hell. And I literally lay on the ground for 45 minutes till I could regain any kind of facility of being able to walk or speak. I was so knocked out. So, but I was purified and ready for my hike up the mountain the next day. So the next day we do go up to Mount Shandoka, which is actually called Mount Wilson. And of course, we have our Last Supper. They literally called it the Last Supper the night before our 4-day fast. And we hike up there the next day up on the mountain. And we're basically alone in the wilderness for 4 days. We have a buddy system where you can contact your buddy non-verbally once a day. Anyway. So this was the second part of the Tapasya, fasting for 4 days, which was really, first day wasn't so bad. By the second day, you start thinking about all the food you're missing. And I discovered a new mantra. It's not the 16-syllable Maha Mantra. My mantra went something like this. I was saying over and over to myself, baked potato, melted butter, sour cream, and chives. Baked potato, melted butter, sour cream, and chives. Baked potato, melted butter, sour cream, and chives. Because this is what I wanted. Well, there was no baked potato, sour cream, and chives. There was nothing except water. And by this third or fourth day, you get quite weak. So basically, I'd be laying inside my tent, not able to do anything, and trying to have a vision of what I'm supposed to do with my life and who I am and what my purpose is. And at this point, I have to say, I experienced what I would call a visual hallucination from the fasting. So I could see this side of the mountain, and we were up around 10,000 feet. I could see part of the mountain in front of my tent, and I thought I saw a face in the mountain. I could swear I saw this face in the mountain, which I called it the Stone Man, and I began to have an extensive conversation with the Stone Man that I saw in the mountain. This is actually a phenomena that happens quite a lot when people can see things in other objects, like somebody sees the face of Jesus in their mashed potatoes and they make a big deal about it, right? Or they see a vision of Mary Magdalene in a tree stump or something. There's a term for it, actually. It's called Paradolia. Paradolia? It's an incorrect perceived images of faces or animals in objects. Paradolia. So I experienced paradolia there. I was having my conversation with the old man, the stone man in the mountain. And at the end of the 4 days in the morning, I had another kind of really cool experience, was where I had an auditory hallucination, and I heard a heavenly choir singing heavenly in my head for about a couple hours. It just went on, and I loved it. I thought, oh, I don't want this ever to stop. I want this to continue. I was just hearing this heavenly choir singing in my head. So what was the purpose of my tapasya? I wanted to find out who I was, but I had no idea. I had no really idea about the soul. It was all about what I'm supposed to bring back to my tribe. I don't know. I didn't really learn anything. I wanted to have a mystical experience, certainly, and I did have that, but that's not for God. I did it for myself. I wanted to gratify myself, right? I wanted to have this experience. I wanted to look cool. Wanted to be able to tell my friends, yeah, I did a sweat lodge. Yeah, piece of cake. Yeah, no problem. No. Or, yeah, I fasted for 4 days. You know, so I really got a lot of props, a lot of street cred with my New Age friends from doing this experience. But I didn't do it for God. I did it. This is in the mode of passion. And so there is a verse, the mode of passion verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Where is it? Here it is. Okay, I keep saying, I don't know if it's the Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad-Gita. I'm getting confused. Chapter 17, text 18. I think it's the Bhagavatam. Anyway, Satkara mana pujartam tapodambena cheva yat kriyate tariha proktam rajasam chalam adruvam. Penance performed out of pride, hello, and for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship is said to be in the mode of passion, rajasam. It is neither stable or permanent. It is flickering, chalam, and temporary, adruvam. Rajasam chalam adruvam. So this was the Tapasya of Leonard Cohen. And Tapasya in the mode of just passion, and maybe a tad bit of ignorance, but mostly passion. And then the austerities of the Tapasya of Brahma and the Tapasya of Hiranyakashipu. And just to sum it up, we go to Bhagavatam chapter 17, text 28. Ashradaya hutam datam tapas taptam kritam chat yat asariti uchate parta nachatat pretya no yaha. Sorry, messed that up. Anything done as a sacrifice, charity, or penance without faith, ashradaya, without faith in the Supreme, O son of Prita, is impermanent. It is called asat, false, and is useless both in this life and the next. Asat iti uchate. And again, Srila Prabhupada in a town hall lecture says, human life is meant for austerity and penance, not for increasing our sense gratification. So obviously he's saying, if you're going to do some penance, do it for the Supreme and not for personal sense gratification and not for inimical reasons and not to destroy the entire material universe like Hironyaksha. So Nishamya tad vaktir dikrikshaya disho vilokya tatranyad apasyanamaha yan apasyamana svadishnamastaya vimrishaya tad ditam tapasyupadishta ibadadhe mana. When he heard the sound, he tried to find the speaker, searching on all sides. Sorry, but when he was unable to find anyone beside himself, this is Brahma, he thought it wise to sit down on his lotus seat firmly and give his attention to the execution of penance as he was instructed. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. I welcome any comments, questions, or if anyone wants to talk about their tapasyas in like a minute or less. Thank you. Let's see. Malini, you had your thumb up. Did you want to say something? No? Oh, wait, I lost.
I was looking at Pampa Prabhu and Nalini Kanta. They were having their thumb up, so I was putting my thumb up too. But I really
Thumbs up for the class.
Oh, Parampara has his thumb up.
It was a fun class about the different mode of material nature in which we can do tapasya. You know, if you want a question, I can ask a question.
No, I didn't really want one.
I want to ask it anyway.
Go ahead.
You know, sometimes, okay, it's obvious we get up in the morning, tapasya, we chant around tapasya. But what's like sometimes, I know I do tapasya, but it's for my health. You know, I do some things that it's tapasya, and I do it for my health. And maybe, you know, in the back of my head, maybe the health is important because to perform devotional service, I want to be healthy. But still, the tapasya, like the fasting or the following such a diet or another diet, is for health purposes. So I just wanted to hear what you thought about that.
Yeah, so you're saying that sometimes you do tapasya for your own health, and so of course you need to have a healthy body, and once you have a healthy body, then you can do the tapasya in the mode of goodness and do it for the Lord. So I think that's what you're saying, that so it's not really sense gratification if you're doing it for your health so that you can keep yourself together so that you can serve better. Okay, that's I guess I wouldn't look at that if you're doing tapasya for your good health. To me, that's not sense gratification. That's sounds like tapasya in the mode of goodness. Yeah, tapasya. What's it? Mode of goodness, tapasya. Satvikam. Yes. Thank you, Melanie. Mother Melanie.
Fun class, and I love your story. All your story. Hironyaksha, and Len Cohen, and Brahma, all of them.
Yes, I'm looking to see. Somebody had, chat. Let me check the chat here. Okay.
Yeah, in the discussion, I'm reminded of. I know you like this verse, Malini. Your question and Len's response reminds me of the Bhagavatam verse, Kamasya Nendriya Pritir Labu Jive Tayavata Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa Nartayas Cheha Karmabi. That life's desire should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire a healthy life, self-preservation, because human life is distinctively meant for inquiry into the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. And so if we're doing some tapasya, some penance, maybe some fasting, some special diet, yeah, to preserve, to help keep the body and soul together, to, you know, with a consciousness of supporting ourselves, to intensify our aspiration to realize absolute truth, then, as Len's saying, then that's sattvic, or possibly even Shuddha sattvic, but at least sattvic austerity. That, yeah, because I'm preserving self-preservation, keeping body and soul together in a happy way, to support me to enthusiastically engage in realizing the absolute truth. Because, yeah, if we're kind of indulging in eating, sleeping, sex life, different gratifications, then then we're not like sharp and on that consciousness growth edge. And similarly, if we're often, if we're not giving enough attention to bodily health, then that causes disturbance, which also distracts us from that inquiry into the absolute truth. So I appreciate your question and Len's response. I'll also mention, like, there's a term in the purport, a term which somehow we've come to use a lot the past 20 plus years. And this is the only place I know in all of Prabhupada's teachings where he directly uses this term. So it's a long sentence at the beginning of the second paragraph of the purport, and Prabhupada writes, as already stated, Brahma is the original spiritual master for the universe, and since he was initiated by the Lord himself, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam is coming down by disciplic succession. And in order to receive the real message of Srimad Bhagavatam, one should approach the current link or spiritual master in the chain of disciplic succession. After being initiated by the proper spiritual master in that chain of succession, one should engage himself in the discharge of tapasya, in the execution of devotional service. And one should not, however, think himself on the level of Brahma to be initiated directly by the Lord from inside, because in the present age, no one can be accepted to be as pure as Brahma. So that term current link, as some of you may have noticed, I use that a lot. So one thing, yeah, that Brahma goes into sattvic austerity, and that's essential to his process of essential initiation. And so we can see here that initiation is not essentially about an event or about a fire yagya. It's not essentially about that. And we're not minimizing those aspects of the process of initiation, that those formal aspects, when done properly, they're transformationally potent and transformative. And at the same time, those formal aspects are not essential. They're not required. The essential aspect, tene brahma ridayadi kaviye, is that one receives transformational, transcendental knowledge, divya gyan. That's the essence of the process of diksha in their heart, and one qualifies oneself to receive that divya gyan from the current link to the parampara. For Brahma, the current link to the parampara is Sri Krishna. And as we like to emphasize, Srila Prabhupada is fully available as the current link to the disciplic succession. It's not a cheap thing, but for those not imitating Brahma, but for those who are willing to follow in the line of Brahma and do some penance, do some austerity, just like here we are on a Sunday morning. Here we are on a Sunday morning, and we're discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's a sort of penance. There's other things we could be doing that would be sense gratification. And so one who's willing to do some austerity, and I really like your class, Len. Austerity in the mode of goodness means austerity following the line of authoric tapo divyan putraki in asafam shudya yasmad brahma sakyam to anantam. Truly divine austerity meant for divine purposes, not for not for being seen as cool, or not for destroying someone else like that. Hello, Annapurna. Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Yes, we're appreciating. Hare Krishna. We're appreciating your husband's class there.
Sure, this is.
Yes. Hello, Annapurna. Welcome. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much. I didn't participate, I wanted to, but I just come from, we had an interview with Wisdom of the Sages, me and Brinda.
Oh,
It just ended.
Wisdom of the Sages from Raghunath Kapo
Yes.
and Kostuba. Very
Yeah.
nice. It's all focused on Bhagavatam. So you were focusing on Bhagavatam, and we're focusing on Bhagavatam with your husband leading the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, so I appreciate, David, you saying about that the process of initiation doesn't have to be a formal thing. Yeah, I mean, Brahma didn't get some beads to chant on from Vishnu. He just was initiated from within. And that was enough for him to serve, and then he created the material universes. So yeah, so I guess so that's available. Well, no, we can't be like Brahma. We're certainly not like Brahma, but we have the current link to bring us closer to God and get initiated. Yeah. So thank you for that. Anyone else want to chime in?
Yes, we have Damayanti. We're good.
Thank you. Well, I was curious, so does Srila Prabhupada feel that there's one current link at any one time? Is that the message you get from Prabhupada? Anyone can answer. There's only one current link at a time.
I don't see where, at least in this purport, where Prabhupada's saying that. That might be his point of view. At the same time, well, I would say, in a sense, in a broad sense, the answer is, well, no, because Prabhupada talks about different bona fide sampradayas, all starting from Vishnu. So all starting from Vishnu, and different branches of sampradayas became useless in different ways as time goes on. But Prabhupada talks about bona fide sampradayas, each with their current links at different times in history. So here, clearly, the one current link for Brahma is Krishna. That's clear. At the same time, if we look at Prabhupada's teachings, he also makes it clear that in different times of history, there was different bona fide current links, maybe each with its different flavor, but all pure devotees like Brahma in different sampradayas.
Within one sampradaya, though, would there just be one at a time? Like, it's a chain from one person to another.
Well, within a particular line, by definition, yeah, there's one. There's one. At the same time, we can say, like, let's say in the sampradaya coming from Lord Chaitanya, right? So that's a parampara. At the same time, okay, let's like say we have the Six Gold Swamis and many other pure devotees. But let's just talk about the Six Gold Swamis. So there are 6 individuals who are all serving, at least qualified to serve as current links. They're all one. Their message is completely consistent. At the same time, we could say, in that line of Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami were simultaneously current links.
Thank you. I have one more question. later on in the purport, it says the Lord himself appears as a spiritual master to a person who is sincere in heart about serving the Lord. And in the next sentence, therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet the sincere devotee should be accepted as the confidential and beloved representative of the Lord. So the first sentence says that the Lord appears as a spiritual master to the sincere person.
Yeah.
And then immediately after, therefore, the bona fide spiritual master who happens to meet this devotee should be accepted. So
Yes.
So is Krishna appearing as a spiritual master temporarily?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. There's Chaitya Guru, which is Lord in the heart. Chaitya Guru, and so, I don't know, maybe, right? Like you didn't have, for example, I'll talk about you.
Okay.
So like you didn't have much of any connection with Prabhupada when you came to the Safatova Advanced course in June 2014. So maybe, maybe something like it was Chaitya Guru, Super Krishna in the heart, who's directing you to develop these relationships with Ganashyam and Jayadev and Abhimanyu. And so it's like Krishna is guiding you, responding to some spark of sincerity there. And that's Krishna. That's Krishna. Okay, and then Krishna sees you're sincere, and then Krishna appears in, let's call it, an external manifestation as your eternal spiritual master, currently to the Parampara, Srila Prabhupada, in the form of his books and his representatives and his Morti and like that. So yeah, and we've talked about this in some recent discussions. We do have a direct relationship with Krishna and Super Soul. And so it's like they're team, it's like teamwork. It's like teamwork. So like Super Soul is like, yeah, Bhaktivedanta Swami, this Dominique is sincere, so let's arrange for you to appear. And so Super Soul's inspiring you, and then Prabhupada's the external manifestation of Paramatma. Yeah, it's teamwork. Laura.
I just want to say thank you for that, because I was going to ask about that exact sentence and then one above. So thank you for answering what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, thank you, Damayanti, for going there.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Is
And
it?
Jaya Lord Vraha.
Wait, we're not finished.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna Len.
Oh, Gajendra. Gajendra Prabhu.
Well, I know Eze has been trying to speak for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't see it.
Okay.
Who wants?
It's just a kind of, I don't have a question. I want to say how much I enjoyed your class. I found it so incredibly engaging and humorous and very in very relatable ways. I've done some similar austerities, and I really appreciated your comments, Sauna from Hell. That very much describes my experience with the sweat lodges, the Temascalas. So I really enjoyed getting to hear you humorously narrating your story. Thank you.
Thank you. Gajendra.
Well, there's something serious I want to say. But first, I just want to let you know I did a sweat lodge at 30 and my eyes were very good at that time.
No glasses.
No glasses. Perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I'm a little bit concerned about not anything that you said, Len, but about the conversation regarding the gurus and the current link, etc. And maybe I'm mishearing or just having some reaction of my own, but my concern is is there a tendency, is a question, to create something along the lines of like, Jesus is the only way, or you got to go through the line of the Pope, that type of thing. My understanding, I hear things like the Chaitanya tree. It's more like, you know, an individual, you may have a line, you may have your direct line. And for, I believe, all of us, it's, you know, Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, and there's that line. But I'm concerned because as I'm hearing it, it seems to be sort of trying to make a case or wanting to be exclusive or not recognizing so well that other people have another path that may be very meaningful to them, and that they may be their guru or their line, and our enthusiasm and good fortune, you know, for Srila Prabhupada, who, you know, I mean, it's really natural that we feel the way we feel about him, though, to not be inadvertently stating things that might not be quite true, or invalidating other gurus or disciples and their relationships, or what the capability of those relationships are for them.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing this up, Gajendra, that, you know, is Krishna the only way? And I think, you know, I've heard Prabhupada, he certainly has said, well, you know, whether you call God Krishna or Vishnu or Allah or Jesus, it doesn't really matter because there's only one supreme. He's not, I don't think, saying, okay, you must call the supreme Krishna. He's saying, you know, people of other faiths are just as valid as our beliefs. And God is one, there's only one supreme, just has different names. So yeah, I totally agree with you about this idea that, you know, our way is the only way. This is dangerous. So the way you get to the supreme, I don't think there's just one path to get to it. And you know, God knows there's been enough you know, religious bigotry and violence done in the name of God because you're not, you know, believing what I believe. So therefore, I will cut your head off, you know. So this has been going on for thousands of years, and it's horrible. So to use religion to, you know, I'm just speaking for myself here. I can't back this up with Shastra or anything, but except for what I said about what Prabhupada said about, you know, the different names of God, you know. But yeah, I appreciate that there's more than one way to get to God, and there are other paramparas, there's other disciplic successions that are just as valid. So yeah, ours is not the only way. And I certainly myself personally am not comfortable with saying to anybody, well, you have to do it our way, and that's it. So yeah, thank you, Gajendra.
Yeah, I think you addressed the right principle of what I was talking about, but more in terms of different religions you did. And was a little more narrow, just within the Gaudiya Vaishnav tradition itself.
Okay, so
more like the Chaitanya tree, that there is more of a branching rather than a single line.
I'd like to comment that, yeah, I mean, now and literally thousands of times over the past 22 years since I've been kind of writing about these topics or speaking about it, I emphasize that I'm not saying Prabhupada is the only available current link. There might be another 1 or 2 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000, whether in the line of Bhaktisiddhanta or in the line of Jesus or in the line of Sri Sampradaya, Ramanuja. And the reason, the language I use, I try to use again and again and again and again. The language I use is is Prabhupada is available to serve as the current link to the parampara for those who sincerely accept and follow and serve him in that capacity. Prabhupada is available. I'm not saying he's the only one available. There could be another 1 or 2 or 1 million or 2 million. The reason why I emphasize as I do that Prabhupada's available is because there has been a somewhat relentless campaign over the past 44 years to insist ardently that Prabhupada is not available as the current link. So I'm insisting, based on Prabhupada's teachings and his example and the philosophy he gave, that Prabhupada is available. And I'll say it for the 4th or 5th time here, and for the 5,000th time maybe over the 20 years. I'm not saying Prabhupada's the only available current link. I'm saying he is a possibility for those who sincerely accept him in that capacity. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said completely. I'm glad to hear it, and I agree with it. I mean, I will say for me that Prabhupada is the one. And at the same time, it's just also important to me to respect what I clearly witness as other people getting Krishna consciousness in the relationship with someone, with someone other than Prabhupada. I admit that I have a type of feeling for Srila Prabhupada that does make me feel a little sometimes shy away from other people because of the specialness that I feel toward Srila Prabhupada. And I mean, I've seen some books, and there'll be different Gaudiya Vaishnava gurus and things like that, and Prabhupada will just be in there with those other gurus, and I actually don't care to see those books because my personal relationship with Srila Prabhupada is that he's very special. But at the same time, yeah, I appreciate what you said, dear Govinda Prabhu, because I just think it is really important to be respectful and honor and know that other people are deeply in their hearts and in their truth, feeling very enlivened and inspired and knowledgeable in their Krishna consciousness. I've never seen it with someone who isn't at least respectful and still worshiping Srila Prabhupada as his relative, glorifying him. But yeah, there are other people. So thank you for letting me address that.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
I just want to say that Parampara put a very gem in a chat, and I think it's directly connected with that conversation from my perspective.
So Parampara writes, my name is Cocoon Weaver, the Jewish psychologist from New Jersey, Greenberg, if I remember correctly. We had laugh out loud moments over here. Hare Krishna, thank you. Hare Krishna.
But that sauna from hell was no laughing matter, believe me. Hare Krishna.